Morning, it is Sunday. It certainly feels like it, but it's my Saturday. Morning, everybody who's tuned in for this one. This is episode 50 something, as Jamie would say. As you've noticed, we are absent of Jamie this morning, and that's all right. He should have some time off. He should miss one every now and then. Technology falls apart and you got to sort it out. But we're here, just the two of us, Dan and I. Dan, how are you this morning?
Good. It is the start of the year of the 30th birthdays, so there's a few happening and coming up. So a few drinks last night, so we're starting a little bit later in the morning.
Nice. Fair call. Right, well, we have a few things to talk about today anyway. Probably be a short one, so to strap in and have a coffee. I have one. Yes, it's quite big.
Also, rotating chairs the last 3 weeks. We thought we were all going to be here because it was you and Jamie, then Jamie and I, and it's just worked out that we've done a rotating chair.
Yeah, that's all right. Looks like we are capable of doing this when we're down a couple, so that's fine. But yeah, we'll just hit right into it and don't muck around. Oh, you can see my new background, man. All the Transformers, as I said, Superman is gone, and I've got all my Transformers there. I'm a massive nerd, forever alone. But this morning, let's talk about what we've been playing. I'll just start with one. I've been playing the Back to the Future Telltale game. It's okay. Man, it's like 2015 or something that game came out, and it feels so janky. I forgot how janky those games feel back in that old engine that they were using around the time. But the voice works okay. Christopher Lloyd is back, and he sounds old as fuck in that role. And I think
lacking a bit of spirit.
Yeah, he's kind of just there. But I think the guy that plays Marty McFly, I think that might be James Arnold Taylor. I know he does a couple of voices in that game, but he does a very good impression at least. It's not Michael J. Fox, but yeah, it looks all right. The first chapter is boring as bat piss, but it gets interesting the more you start mucking up the time throughout the story. But I've got 2 more episodes to go on it. It plays it for you basically. There's a hidden button. And you press that 3 times, and then it tells you what to do. If you're stuck, you're just like, I don't know. And so you're just kind of just walking away through it. But I need that at the moment. It's easy achievements, and I don't have to engage. I can just chill out and enjoy a story that's being told, and just move the stick and push a button. But besides that, I've been playing a shitload of Outriders recently, and that's a lot of fun. Finally, it's satisfying. Like I don't really understand what's happening in the story. The story is cool, but it's just there, but that's all right. I need that. Gears of War was like that when it started as well. I am interested to see how this world expands, but yeah, I'm keen to kind of finish that story. Not sure about how I'll go back with the end game stuff, but there's more story content I think that's coming, so I'll definitely go back for it. But about yourself, that's what I've been playing recently. What about yourself? What have you been doing?
Apart from the regular 2K, what have I been doing? I played Oddworld last week, I think I mentioned, so I don't think I touched that yet. I'm still curious about it, but this week is all... I've just been watching all the previews for Returnal and just figuring out if I'm putting the money down or not. But I found out today the embargo for those reviews are the day before, even though they're previewing it all now. I don't understand the point of having the previews. So yeah, it's more just waiting to see if that's the next game I'm going to really delve into. I didn't get to jump on Age of Empires this week, so a little bit of a quieter week.
That's all right. Sometimes you just need to do that. You see the comparisons to Returnal and that Xbox game that what's it called? Recall. They had like these side by side comparisons from the games, and they're like, it's very similar.
I remember Recall. I don't remember looking like in terms of the atmosphere or just how it plays, or
yeah, just how it plays and how the gameplay is overall. And it's quite interesting to see. Like I don't know if there's anything there to it. I mean, Recall didn't set the world on fire. I haven't played it yet. I've had it installed for so long, and I've reinstalled it so many times. Like, yeah, I'm going to play that. But I just thought it was funny when you mentioned that name. It just popped up in my mind. But Yeah, speaking of Xbox, just a weak segue there. We've got some updates. We've got some updates for Xbox and how they're just taking over the planet. So we've got Xbox Cloud Gaming, the beta for iOS and browsers is out there. If you have an invitation, please tell us in the comments below. We'd like to have your feedback. When I signed up for the beta for Xbox or XCloud and Cloud Gaming, whatever the hell they want to call it now, I put in my devices, Android, all that kind of shit. So I'm not going to get the invite for iOS, obviously, but I keep an eye out for an invite for the browser version because I am very interested to see how that goes. Just, if I'm just chilling here on the PC, I can remote play anyway on my Kishi, but it's just going to be cool to have another option. So I'm pretty just stoked about how this is going. Like, it's a pretty quick turnaround when this from when they announced they're planning to do it to actually it's in beta now and people can live test it. Where back everybody knows like iOS and Apple were like, nope, we don't want Game Pass on our service because we can't verify and rate every game that's on the thing, even though it's a streaming service. So Microsoft, in their infinite wonder, turn around and goes, well, we're just going to do it on browser then. Screw you. So that's a power move, if anything. So I'm very keen to see how it plays. Current feedback and reviews that I've seen from people playing it at the moment, it's definitely early. There are some teething problems, but I mean, the cloud gaming that I use now, and I'm still on beta in Australia, and the remote play, I've said it a couple of times, I've played it 800k away from my home Xbox, or if I'm on 4G, hit or miss depending on the strength, but it works. So I could only imagine this is going to improve over time. But man, like just to be able to say, like when they finally, say like a year or two ahead or how long it's going to take, when it's all live and games start releasing on everything that Xbox has, like, you could get the new Gears 6 or Fable or Avowed or whatever and say it's available everywhere. Basically, like how would the numbers play, man? Like, when they say, oh, this game sold 1 million copies, or there's 5 million players on this game this week, and what if everyone's like, wow, we've got 2 billion devices out there that can play Xbox games. Like, what are the numbers going to be like? I'm jumping ahead there, but just discussing all of that. Like, I know, like you don't have a Series X, and I don't even know if you're going to be keen on picking one up. But the whole point of this plan that Microsoft has is to kind of get those people in that don't want to invest in the console or just want to dabble in Xbox and stuff, like all this kind of stuff. Does it sound anywhere remotely appealing to you? Like, how do you feel about this news that's coming out now about iOS and browsers?
Well, browser is actually huge in my opinion. Like, the idea that you don't necessarily have to have a beefed up PC necessarily, like the fact that you can log into your browser and it goes off to somewhere else to do the work, like that's what was appealing, if anything, about Stadia, right? Like,
yep,
something else is doing the work. Your equipment doesn't have to. I think that's one of the biggest draws to most people, because while it's good to have it on phone, like you've been using your Razer Kishi and all that,
yes,
most people, if they're thinking, I want to play Halo, well, you can play it on your phone and everything and it will work. Most people, it's an experience where people will tend to sit down in front of something to play it. And if, with COVID happening all over the earth and people being stuck inside, people have started to just go into separate rooms to get their own space. And if you have just a laptop or something that's not very heavily powered, but you can use your browser and get onto it that way. I think that's probably the most appealing thing, and that's something I wish. I mean, Stadia needed games, but that was the promise of you have this controller and connecting it to all devices, and a browser being a big one of them.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like myself, I don't have a beast of a PC either. So if I didn't have an Xbox, if I was just like, oh, that game looks cool, and I wasn't aware, like, I know people that only have Switches, they don't have an Xbox or PlayStation. So if there's a game out there that's on Xbox, they can go, well, I'll just jump on the browser. And I mean, yeah, you do have a trade off. Like there are some artifacting. It's not full K, that kind of stuff, because it's only you're limited to your bandwidth that you have at home and whatever bandwidth they're putting out at the Azure out there.
Yeah.
But they haven't even. I don't think they haven't replaced all the blades out there in the servers for the Series X versions. Like I think they're still running Xbox One or Xbox One X server blades. Eventually, they're going to replace them all with Series X versions, and it's just going to get even better. But to see how it's working now, I can just imagine how good it's going to be once they do that, once they upgrade everything. But obviously, that'll be after all the beta stuff is happening. But yeah, fully, man. Like I can just imagine, I want to get a new phone, right? My phone, it's all right, but the screen's a bit small for what I expected to play. But the fact that I can sit here and just play like Back to the Future, which I've done, and Yakuza, those two games at the moment I've been playing solely on my remote play or excuse me, over the cloud, and those experiences are great. Like I can imagine maybe Destiny isn't that great because there is a bit of input lag just because of the connection type that you are, and your Bluetooth controller will create extra kind of lag in there, which I don't use, but my Kishi connects directly into my phone, so I'm cutting out some of that lag. But the games that I can experience, like Yakuza or story-based games like Telltale games or Minecraft Dungeons, where it's not really Twitch-based games, those are going to succeed a lot more on the service, I think, than anything else. Like Gears is playable. You can get through it. Even on 4G, there is a noticeable lag on mobile data, but I haven't tested 5G. I'm not in a 5G, or if I am in a 5G area, I don't have a 5G phone, so I can't speak to that. But I think the strength of Game Pass and cloud gaming is going to be those smaller experiences. And if you wanted to have like Call of Duties or your Destinies or your real like Twitch-based shooters like Halo and all that kind of stuff, you probably are going to be beneficial on a PC or a direct console. But the fact that the option is there is pretty huge. Like I want to see Sony. Like we're going to talk about Sony's things that are happening a bit later in the topics here, but just to kind of compare to what Sony's got on offering at the moment with the PS Now, like it's still not even available here in Australia. So I don't know how many countries it's currently available in, but they did speak, or they put out an announcement the last couple of days about what their plans are of like game releases, and they're kind of starting to talk about what future plans are. Like they've been pretty silent and everything, and they were talking about how they're interacting with Microsoft Azure and the plans there. So I want to know what they're doing. Like they haven't been talking about anything. I want to see PlayStation have something like this because, like you were saying, someone like me that doesn't have a PS5 or a PS4, like if I could, let's say, access my PSN account games on there that I haven't played yet, like Horizon or Detroit, or something like that, through my phone, that'd be great, because then I wouldn't need. I'm not so invested in platform that I want to get the local experience so much. Like I don't have $700 spare just to throw on a PS5. But if I could access that through my phone, man, happy days. Imagine God of War on your phone. I mean, holy shit. Like, do you know anything extra that's been happening recently about any of that?
Well, what I was going to say, something you mentioned about the service is going to be built around smaller games, and that's what Game Pass is going to be built up on, is those AA and then indie type games, yeah, with the like your Halos and stuff day one. And there are games I want to play on Game Pass sometimes, but I'll just sign up when I want to play it on the PC, and eventually a Series S when I move and there's adulting things are out of the way and I can get a Series S. But when you think about it, like those other games you mentioned that like Destiny and well, more so like your Call of Duties. I mean, never say never, but a game like when the next Call of Duty comes out, it's unlikely that's going to be on Game Pass day and date. Never say never, but so you're not really needing to cater to those games straight off the bat because, yeah, you want your AA's and your indies on Game Pass, and if that can work on a browser or on mobile or any of that, that's what you want. But yeah, I did see the Sony stuff this week and talking about how it sounds like they're talking with Microsoft using Azure for like the data centers and all that. But they mentioned how Sony will have a very Sony specific centric thing. I don't have the quote from Ryan because he was spouting off a lot of stuff this week. It's just weeks of. Don't get me wrong, I like talking about Sony games and stuff like that, but I'm kind of getting sick of Sony news like topics a lot of the time. Like it's just because it's just a lot of nothing for 4 weeks and bad shit and yeah. But I don't know if you've got the quotes with you, but yeah, it sounds like they're talking from Microsoft and using their data centers and everything. But they're looking to have some type of different experience that is only Sony, which I have an idea what that might be. But that kind of leads into another topic we're going to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, no worries. Well, we'll just move on to the next one then, because this will be a quick one. Then we can jump into some of Sony's extra plans. So we've talked about Game Pass, and like EA Play is on there. So you've got Battlefield and all that kind of shit on there. So that's kind of another COD experience that you could probably have on mobile. But there's rumors of Uplay coming as well, possibly to Game Pass as well. But Game Pass has hit 23 million users now, and that's within the last few months, it's 5 million more than that was last spoken about. So that's a pretty good jump considering. And like we talked about it in chat a while ago about it, and you were saying it's kind of like 50-50 split as far as Xbox consoles out there and who's actually got the service, and it doesn't include PC players and who is just like me, who's just on mobile. But I'm not just on mobile, but there's people out there that are just on mobile. But it's still huge, man. 23 million users for the amount of time people were just naysaying the service, saying it's going to fail, it's not going to be profitable, it's not going to be successful. I don't know how they can build on it. Like everybody was just poo-pooing on it, and then here we go. Like, man, 23 million people using this now. It's undeniable at this point. And in the future, this is even before Halo Infinite and anything else that's big on it. It's just how it is now. Like the landscape you see that Xbox has, the games that are on the service, that's what you're seeing now. Imagine the jump. I'm excited to see it, but I don't want to get ahead of myself in case it just doesn't. But when games like Halo Infinite comes out, another big first party content from Xbox comes out, the fact that you can go, well, do I want to throw down $100 on this new exclusive, or can I just throw $15 for the month and just play it and be done with it? Or I've been a Game Pass subscriber since day one, and I'm just going to get it added to my library. It's just, I don't know how you can deny it anymore. And there's people still out there that it's like, no, I don't like to rent my games. Like, mate, don't even. Like, that's a whole other conversation. It's like you just don't use your Netflix, don't use your Amazon, don't use all this other shit. Like, if you feel that way about that, don't even go there. Like your music and stuff, but. Anyway, like when you see these numbers, what are your thoughts on it? I think it's a positive. I kind of thought it'd be a lot bigger, to be honest, by now, but you've got to be a bit modest about it. There's a lot of old dogs out there not wanting to learn new tricks. So your thoughts on it, like Game Pass? I know you don't subscribe to it, but how do you feel about how this is growing?
No, I think it's a for a gaming streaming service, and kind of the only one that matters at the moment as well. Knowing Amazon is around the corner and Stadia falling back on it. I don't subscribe. I don't subscribe to the fact when people are like it's not affordable. So, and you always make this comparison. So let's say there's 23 million subscribers out there. Let's say they're all on the $10 level. There's $230 million. That basically pays for Halo. Like the budget for Halo is probably around 200 million, and that has paid for that in 1 month. Yeah. So you do a second month, which will pay for, half of that money will go to the marketing. The other half might go to Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, because that's, unless they've really upped their, I think they have at Ninja Theory, they've hired a lot more people, but they've spread them out onto other projects as well. So they've got like 3 projects running, and I think Hellblade will be still around the same amount that they ended up with. So it's not a Halo budgeted game, but as you can see, over a year, if you have even if you stayed on 23 million subscribers, Microsoft have paid for all their games and Xbox and all their studios. Then it's just about bringing in like your Outriders and stuff like that, and you have to pay a hefty sum. And I heard some people trying to compare Game Pass during the week to like Spotify, and I'm like, well, that's not the same because Spotify acts on royalties. It's more like a Netflix model, which is you pay a lot up front to the talent and they get their money guaranteed and done, and then that's it. So my Xbox might be able to go to the studios and say, oh, it's, you've had a lot of, like, this is how many have downloaded it, this is how many have engaged with it, stuff like that. But they're not going to be getting back end stuff. Like, if the game's there for 6 months, they're not going to get a cut of Games Pass for those 6 months. They get it all at the start, and that's what you get. So I think it is a big success, and probably the thing that they're probably thinking is unfortunate is because of everything that happened with the last generation, with like the Xbox One and that, is that they're working from an install base that isn't nearly what they had in the generation previous with the 360. Because I think we figured it out the other day that Xbox One wise, they have because we don't know the numbers, there's about 48 ish.
Yeah, around there.
So you're almost half of those consoles, but then it starts to, when you add PC and Series X, like those numbers start to get a little bit muddy. But if you can eventually get more people over, which they will, there will be a lot of people jumping from PlayStation 4 to the Series S or X or whatnot because of Game Pass, or buying just both. Like, I think we're finding out there's a lot of people that love the games that Sony made, and they want to have the PlayStation 5 there to play those games that are coming, that they know. But as a day-to-day player, they want an Xbox because it's a lot more affordable for them to just have the Xbox there. Yeah. I don't know how you can say it's a failure. I just think I think Microsoft would have been like to be building off a bigger install base, but it's growing at a very good rate. If you compare it to like HBO Max over in the States, that's only domestic given. But last time we talked about numbers, HBO Max was at 18 million subscribers, and Game Pass was at 18, which is a worldwide thing, but it was at 18 as well. And in that same period of time, Game Pass has added 5 million more users, and HBO Max, I think, added like 2.7, and that's just for movies and stuff, which is much more accessible to normal everyday people. And I'm going to stop talking about it, but it's a success.
Right.
Yes, it's a success.
Yeah, no, totally. Like I see where you're coming from. Like, because I went over Easter, I visited my folks and stayed with my brother, and he's got 4 kids, and like they're on Game Pass all the time or playing the free games like Roblox and stuff. But the fact that they can just jump in the Game Pass and just download a new game to keep themselves occupied, that's pretty powerful. And you got 3 girls that are old enough to actually play games. And they're just going through that and go, oh, I want to play that now, and they just download it, and you don't have to buy any more games, and they can keep their entertainment going. Like, it's a powerful tool, and it's good to see. And God, I hope PlayStation come up with something. I really do. Like you were saying, like not everybody has like a PS5 as their daily driver kind of thing. Like me, like I'm one of those people, and I would like one. I really would, just to have the option to play their games. But if they had a service like this, it removes that argument and removes that problem for me, where I could just play it through my PC browser or something. I'd love that one day. But leading on to what PlayStation is doing, and some plans that they're testing the waters for, that will make you go WTF, mate. Oh god. Okay, so Poland apparently is the test bed for a PlayStation Video Pass service. Yay for Sony Pictures, because if you have a PlayStation, you're probably thinking, God, I wish I had instant access to Sony's film catalog. On my PS5. I'm being a bit of a dick about it, but I mean, goddamn, no one was asking for this. It's just what the hell? Everybody's been going, where's our Game Pass equivalent? Where's that? And they were talking about, yes, we might have something in the wind about this service that we're going to do that'll compete. And then this leaks or comes out and is confirmed. So you're a PlayStation guy. So your thoughts on this are probably going to be more valid than mine, because I'm still on PS3 and PlayStation 2 at home at the moment. So your take on this, I'm interested.
Well, I think there's something we needed probably, and not just us, but when people are talking about Sony from here on out, like, a year, 2 years ago, when they talked about making Sony like a global brand and working, everyone working within each other. And then that's not just talking games. That's talking movies. That's talking products like your TVs and all that. They're all trying to have everything work in conjunction, and knowing that Sony is behind, like they're in a lot of stuff, but they're not in front in a lot of it. PlayStation, I guess you could say, is still in front, but they're just getting hammered at the moment, so it doesn't feel like it. Adding this film streaming service to PlayStation Plus, but by definition is added value. If they went through with it, this is only for a year in Poland, which is a very interesting market for them to choose. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe a lot of their movies are held up with rights issues in a lot of other places, so there's not much that they can do about it because a lot of it's on Netflix. They just announced that Netflix deal last week. So by definition, yes, it's added value. And when I have a little app on my phone, when I want to watch a movie, it tells me what streaming service the thing is on. Huh. But I feel like that's a huge barrier. If you want to search for, let's say, Venom, because that's on all the screenshots and everything. If you want to find Venom, and I look at that thing and it says, oh, it's on PlayStation Plus, there's this huge barrier of entry that you need a console to play it. So that makes me think you're either making people buy the PlayStation to watch your movies, or they've got to have some other way for people to access PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
Like, are they going to have an app that is PlayStation Plus? And like, it depends on how hard they're going. If they're not going hard at all, it's just like, oh yeah, we'll have a PlayStation Plus app on TVs and things like that in the future, and you can access PlayStation Plus to watch the TV, and that's it. Or they want to do more with this streaming stuff, and they want to bring it to their TVs and things like that. But I don't know how far they're going to go with it. In Jim Ryan's interview that you brought up, he said that he feels a lot better about streaming now than he did a year ago. But I want to know why that is. Like, because he finally figured out what Azure actually is and what video games are. Like, I don't. No, I don't get it. Like, it'd be a nice addition to have, but it's hard because talking specifically about games, you're like, what did this doesn't add anything to me playing games. No. If you're just an everyday consumer of things, sure, it's an added value. But games-wise, it doesn't move the needle at all.
Yeah, 100%. And it just goes back to the hypocritical conversations that are online about Xbox 2013, where they were doing the whole TV thing, and wanting to make cross-media stuff for their games, and how they got shat on for that. And then nearly 7 or 8 years later, Sony's like, yeah, let's put movies on there and make our movies and stuff based on our properties, and let's put it on PlayStation Plus. And yeah, I just find it very interesting. The transfer of power to Jim Ryan has been such a bad egg. Like, it's just not been good news ever. Now, I remember seeing some comments when he was announced as taking the place, and people were like going, "Oh God!"
Yeah, this
Even
is
back then, people that knew who he was were like, "Oh no, this probably isn't going to be good," and it just hasn't been since. It's been tone deaf. Like, I don't. If Xbox came out with this, I would be like, no, I don't want that. Like, I have yet to play Quantum Break, and that's one of the games that were doing that. I had live action cutscenes and stuff like that.
which I didn't.
I
I
haven't.
actually played that, and
Oh, really?
I didn't mind. I didn't finish it because the story kind of I lost the interest. But I didn't mind it as like an experiment for like that
Yeah.
type, like a big budget game to do that. Like normally that's something you might see in like a smaller game, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is cool. They're trying it. I just didn't think the story was all that interesting. But um,
I have heard that. Yeah.
I
I will
think
get to it.
that was back in when we went to the EB Expo days.
Yeah.
I went into one of the like behind closed doors things, and they kind of showed it off. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I played it. I was like, yeah, there. I think there's a way that can be done, but more so with games like Erica, which are like kind of your live action, choose your own adventure stuff. I think that suits it better than go. It's weird going from live action. Here's an actual actor, and then suddenly they're gamified and they're just it's their face model, and it's never going to look the same. So it will always
Bit jarring. Yeah.
a bit jarring, take you out of it.
Yeah, no, look, I will get to it, but it's just one of those experiments where I was like, yeah, I would have preferred it if it was just a straight game, but unique, fair call. But yeah, I just don't think like Xbox wouldn't get away. They didn't get away with it. I just see if this is going to be this kind of equivalent of like, well, they already mentioned that they're going to start pressing heavy on making cross media content with their other PlayStation IP. Where's the negative conversation here? Like, I'm not seeing the Sony guys, like the Sony players and that kind of stuff, kicking up a stink about it like they did over Xbox in 2013. Yeah, it's just, I just find it a bit hypocritical, but whatever. I'm not interested at all in having movies added to my Game Pass subscription. And I would be the same if I had a PlayStation 5 or 4 or whatever. And I was like, well, yeah, it's not extra out of my pocket, but I didn't ask for it. And you just imagine after this test phase is over, if they go ahead with it, I have a feeling that they won't, because it's such a odd little thing. Like, how do you go on the map and go spin the globe and go, oh, Poland? All right, let's do that. It's a little place that we can get away with doing it, and they have a little test bed. I imagine they're not going to go ahead with it, but if they do, I can see that the potential there for increasing the price for PlayStation Plus. It just seems like a logical thing, like as opposed from Xbox where they were making up ground. So they're like, let's just make this affordable and give them like, let's over deliver, and just make it affordable. And then like Netflix has increased their price over the years. You can imagine Game Pass will too, but maybe they won't. But I'm just saying, like, PlayStation doesn't have the deep pockets like Microsoft has to kind of get away with it. Oh, so not get away with it's negative, but to kind of lay the costs out and not worry about it too much. Whereas Sony, on the other hand, as long as you've got Jim Ryan in play, anything's on the table as far as screwing over their customers, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, like, just to touch on it, on that conversation of the reversal of the retro games universe on PlayStation, like how they were going to get rid of the PSN for PS3 and the Vita, and the cry out from their fans and the general gaming public of like, what the hell are you doing, Jim? No, stop what you're doing. Control your power and give us back that option, because it's so anti-consumer and it doesn't lean into game preservation at all. And it took like a week or two of countless arguments and conversation and videos and everything on Twitter of like, you're doing a bad thing, for them to go, all right, yep, no bad. And Jim Ryan signed off, probably a PR made document statement to say, yeah, we're going to reverse that. No worries, we heard you loud and clear for the foreseeable future.
See, that's hard, because when I first heard of that announcement, I said, before I actually read the stuff, I thought to myself, okay, well, clearly the mad rush for people buying games has kept kept the store open for another year at least. Just by people mad rushing to get their games. But there is a thing. It's interesting in that what he said, that he had in the statement said that we were wrong, and in my mind, if they were just going to take it down in another year, they wouldn't say we were wrong, we shouldn't do this, because then in a year's time, if they do go to do it, they're like, well, why were you suddenly wrong, and then you've just backflipped again. So I don't know if they can get away with it again after making that specific statement. But yeah, the hard thing with Sony is it's clearly they're trying to have everything, all their ducks in a row. I don't mind that they're making movies off their video game properties, because I'm sorry, if you look at Sony's history of their highest grossing movies, movies that they don't own, like that, the highest grossing movies are Spider-Man, who they have to, like, they have Spider-Man for a long time, but I think if they stop making Spider-Man movies, it just goes back to Marvel. Skyfall, James Bond is not with them anymore. That's over at Warner Brothers. The next, I think Jumanji, the new movies have become the third highest grossing series that they have, franchises that they have. And then it goes Men in Black, which has been dead for 10 years. Like, they don't have a lot to work with. So I get why they're making movies, and they're making the movies that their games are very successful. I get all of that working together, as long as one project does not influence the other. I don't want them making a movie to come over to the game and say, well, we're putting this in the movie. Can you add this character like into that? Like, keep them separate. I don't mind if you're making properties, but. And I don't want to go away too much from the games talk, but what do they do with the movies that they do have? You have Disney, who bought up Fox, that have all this content. You have Netflix that has all this content that they're creating themselves now, basically. You have Amazon that are putting, millions of dollars into series like Lord of the Rings, stuff like that. And Sony's there like, yeah, we want to release Venom this year, and Morbius, and like they're so far back, and without selling off their stuff, they need to put them somewhere. And I get why they're putting it on PlayStation Plus, but I don't think you can charge more for it, because that it's not a value worth the price, because their library is so small, and it's been split up over all these other people. All these other streaming services. It's just, I get them wanting to be a global company, but that takes a lot of preparation, and they've only been doing this for 2 years. And I think they've got so long to go, and how fast streaming and technology is going right now, it's hard enough for people like HBO Max to keep up, let alone Sony trying to coordinate all their different properties and TVs and things all together. Like, they're trying to do everything at once, and they might end up doing none of it good.
Yeah, like I don't think Jim's the right guy, 100%. No. Like, if they were going to do this direction anyway, man, bring back Sean Layden. Like, I mentioned that last week in my joint class, but man, Sean Layden, love him or hate him, but his delivery was so like confident, and he stood by his product and behind it. And half the reason why you enjoy PlayStation like you have done in the previous generations is partly or majorly because of him at the helm and the way he directed.
All the games that we're getting at the moment are all games that were still greenlit by Sean Layden. So like Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, before that Death Stranding, like Days Gone, all of those games were Sean Layden greenlit games. We haven't hit the spot where it's the Jim Ryan, Herman Hulst kind of era, which will probably happen in the next 2 years, I reckon. Mind you, not the sequels to certain games, but we'll see what games come out of it. But I don't have the faith.
No, I don't either. Like, just to wrap it up, like, this is kind of, I can equivalent this to the fan-centric kind of forward-thinking fan servicey companies like Marvel is like Xbox right now, and you've got Sony being like Warner Brothers and DC, where they're doing everything so far that nobody wants and is against what their fans are asking for. And then you've got Xbox and Marvel that are like, you want that? Well, here's more of it, and here's something else that you're probably going to like too, you know? And I'm conflicted as a DC fan and an Xbox fan. I'm like, well, I love you, but I hate this other one at the same time. My world is topsy-turvy, but that's my world right now. But but yeah, a lot of interesting stuff going on. But we could waffle on about the intricacies of all of that for quite some time, I know. But we'll probably start wrapping up now. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. Look forward to. I'm interested to see how Jim Ryan's era will start showing some positive stuff happening. I don't want to I do shit on him, and a lot of it's valid. But I will give benefit of the doubt if he does start doing some good stuff. And I do think it's a bit too early, like you mentioned. It's a bit too early to tell from now, but bring it on. We'll see what happens. But yeah, well, cheers for hanging out with me this morning and getting the conversation out. And hopefully Jamie sorts out his computer stuff. And we can all be the trio of force next weekend. And see how we go. Yeah, I've been Uncle Chunt, and that's Dan over there doing his thing. And I hope your hangover is not too brutal for the rest of the day.
See you guys.
Toodle all.